Q2 solving a shortage.
Montana is experiencing a healthcare shortage right now. 52 of our 56 counties are in a deficit for healthcare workers.
Montana's first full-time medical school looking to get more high school students into the field.
In the future, I'd like to go into neuroscience or maybe neurosurgery.
Plus, flags for first responders.
Just want to show appreciation and show that I'm thankful for what they're doing for our community.
A Sheridan 16-year-old giving back to her community in a unique way. The MTN 430 News starts right now. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this Thursday. I'm Russ Riesinger. A shortage of healthcare workers continues to take its toll on Montana. Here in Billings, there's currently hundreds of vacant positions listed on the two hospitals' websites. And nationally, the Association of American Medical Colleges is projecting the problem will only get worse. Our Kelsey Boggs takes a closer look at what the state's first full-time medical school is doing to combat the problem.
The country is predicted to suffer a shortage of up to 124,000 healthcare physicians over the next 12 years, according to the Association of American Medical Colleges. But here at Rocky Vista University, the HOSA event is bringing in young Montanans, inspiring them to bridge that healthcare gap.
As far as I can remember, if somebody asked me what I wanted to do, I wanted to be a doctor.
Future healthcare professionals.
In the future, I'd like to go into neuroscience or maybe neurosurgery.
I'll be pursuing a degree in public policy and trying to tie public health into that.
Coming together to show their skills.
Looking at NASA and things that they're doing with like astronauts, there's different neurosciences that go into building helmets for space exploration, like Mars. If we ever do send people to Mars, there would have to be neurostimulants and helmets and stuff like that.
Boston MacDonald has long been on the receiving end of healthcare and knows in a rural state like Montana, access can be a challenge.
Just from my own medical experience, I know that since it's more of a rural area, there's not many advanced medical capacities here. Yeah. So it's very common for people to have to go to Minneapolis or even places like Denver, Colorado, like I have.
The sophomore at West High recently beat lung cancer.
I'm doing perfect. I've been in remission for a little over a year.
Now she's focusing on the future and how she can make a difference.
It interests me to help people.
Which is exactly what Montana HOSA State Director Katie Meyer loves to see.
These events are just so exciting to see the kids excelling and really working hard.
On Wednesday and Thursday at Rocky Vista University, Montana HOSA held its annual state leadership conference.
Most of the students here have an expressed interest in healthcare and spend this whole school year kind of in their local communities working on those skills.
It's a way to bring the students into the medical community and hopefully convince them to stay.
A lot of our rural areas, our kids don't have access even probably to a hospital within 100 miles of them, and so it's that exposure piece of getting to see all that and then hopefully having them return into these communities where we have a hard time hiring healthcare providers.
Luckily, students like Jack Milroy and Boston MacDonald are working to change that.
52 of our 56 counties are in a deficit for healthcare workers. I definitely want to go out of state for my education and then try to come back and try to alleviate that deficit.
I'd love to come back to Billings. It would be nice to just come here and help expand that medical field for other people.
In Billings, Kelsey Boggs, MTN News.
Healthcare is the fastest growing industry in Montana, expected to add more than 1,300 jobs each year. The Department of Health and Human Services hopes to improve long-term care for Montana veterans, and that work starts through a survey born out of the recent legislative session. Once the information is gathered, DPHHS and the Montana Veterans Affairs Division will have a better idea of what veterans need. That could include more services such as in-home care or Alzheimer's care. Once the survey is completed, it could be taken to lawmakers to ask for more funding.
This survey and this program is just one more way to reach veterans across the state to tell them you matter and we want to know where you are. We want to help you. We want to bring you into the fold. We want to help provide services for you.
$40,000 was allocated for the survey, which will run every 10 years. Veterans can fill out the survey through paper copies or online with a closing date of June 15th. One Wyoming teen is already making a difference in her community, and she's doing it through creative yet simple wooden flags. Haley Monaco has the story.
One 16-year-old Sheridan girl is dedicating her time to giving back to local first responders.
I love my project so much.
At such a young age, Mariah Pierce is making a big impact.
Just want to show my appreciation and show that I'm thankful for what they're doing for our community.
The 16-year-old Girl Scout started gifting handmade wooden flags to first responders, members of the military, and veterans last year.
Why not give back to the community? Because cookies don't last that long, but the flags do.
A lot of kids these days, you don't see them step up and wanted to do something so special for the community.
This father-daughter duo started a woodworking business, making the flags about 6 years ago, properly named T&M Woodworking for Travis and Mariah.
We just like doing it. I mean, right as soon as people see it, the look on their faces is like, whoa.
When Mariah brought the community service idea to her dad to give the flags away as a sign of appreciation, he was nothing but proud. They now make 15 to 20 flags on the weekends, each one taking about an hour to create.
Right now, with everything that she has done, she has got so much support, not just for here in Sheridan, she's got it all around.
From the badges she's received for her work,
I have the ambulance tour, the fire department, the police, and my military badges.
To the memories that will last a lifetime. A young woman doing her best to give back. In Sheridan, Haley Monaco, MTN News.
We woke on Thursday to a lot of clouds over eastern and central Montana as well as northern Wyoming. Not a problem for us today. It's actually keeping us a little bit cooler than it was on Wednesday. However, we want all these clouds gone by Monday because we have the Great American Solar Eclipse moving our direction. Now, it's not going to be moving directly over the Intermountain West. We're going to see about half of it if we're lucky. So about 12:45 or so, give or take a couple minutes, depending on where you live. That's going to be the maximum eclipse. However, we also have a storm moving our direction with more chances for rain and snow. Most of that snow is going into the mountains, but there is the potential for some of that to stay over Montana and Wyoming this coming Monday. So, what are our chances of actually seeing this amazing eclipse? Well, Ed's going to have your complete 7-day forecast coming up in just a few minutes.
The U.S. may be on the verge of changing some of its support for Israel following the airstrikes on aid workers that killed 7, including a dual U.S.-Canadian citizen. Skylar Henry has more details from the White House.
President Biden called Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and expressed outrage over the killing of 7 aid workers during an Israeli airstrike in Gaza.
President, well, all of us, but particularly the president, was certainly shaken by the attack on the WCK convoy.
The White House says Biden made it clear that Israel needs to announce concrete steps to protect civilians, aid workers, and address humanitarian suffering in Gaza in the next few hours and days.
If we don't see the changes that we need to see, there'll be changes in our own policy.
The humanitarian crisis is further challenged, with World Central Kitchen halting its operations in Gaza following the deaths of their workers. Other nonprofits have followed suit.
100% of the population in Gaza knows acute levels of food insecurity. 100% of the population is in need of humanitarian assistance.
Chef Jose Andres, the founder of World Central Kitchen, says he doesn't buy Israel's explanation. The strike was a mistake because his organization coordinates its movements with the Israeli military.
It was really a direct attack on a clearly marked vehicles.
The attack killed 33-year-old Jacob Flickinger, and his parents told CBS News they don't believe it was a mistake either.
The facts on the ground seem to indicate that it wasn't a quote, tragic accident.
Flickinger, a military veteran, leaves behind an 18-month-old son. Skylar Henry, CBS News, the White House.
The death toll has risen to 10 in the aftermath of Taiwan's deadliest earthquake in 25 years. Hundreds remain missing and more than 1,000 people were injured. Much of Taiwan's day-to-day life has returned to normal, but 200 residents of a community near the epicenter are staying in temporary shelters. Over in Butte, a recent analysis shows Berkeley Pit is the best choice to dump waste material. But what makes it the best choice? MTN's John Amy has those answers.
It's being proposed that the best place to dispose the tons of toxic material that'll be removed in Butte Superfund cleanup should be the most toxic place in Butte, the Berkeley Pit.
We've got to take this waste somewhere, and so we want to put it in the most appropriate site for the community that's most protective of the health of our citizens and the environment.
Atlantic Richfield BP recently released an analysis that determined the pit is the preferred site for the repository for most of the toxic material that'll be removed in the cleanup area running through the center of Butte. Because not all the material can go in the pit, other repository sites will have to be determined somewhere in Butte.
The cleanup of the corridor is right in the middle of town. There is going to have to be truck traffic that is going to take some of the materials to different repository sites.
Using the pit is good news for people who were concerned that the repository site was going to be next to historic neighborhoods in Uptown Butte. Several citizens spoke out last year against putting the dump site near the Centerville neighborhood.
I honestly believe that if we didn't step up and fight this, we just would have saw dump trucks pulling up here this summer, dumping stuff in the Dublin Gulch.
The proposal also states that materials taken to the pit will be made into a slurry and pumped there through pipes, so it won't have to be taken by haul trucks. Officials with Montana Resources say they have the capacity and the resources to pump and deposit the waste material in the pit.
I feel very good about the direction we're going, and so we feel optimistic about the path forward.
More public meetings on this matter will be announced later. The EPA will ultimately decide on the repository sites. In Butte, John Amy, MTN News.
Still to come on the MTN 430 News here on Q2, blazing his own trail. A German exchange student literally hits the ground running in Montana, picking up track for the first time. We'll meet him in just a bit. But first, another warm day on the weather front. Some major changes are in store, it looks like. Ed will have the full 7-day forecast right after the break.